Welcome to The Real Bill.
You leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder. Today, I got another amazing guest coming on the show for you guys. He is the owner of Q&R Construction Services, a Salem, Oregon-based company specializing in residential and commercial remodeling projects with a focus on building homes, fences, decks, and more. He and his team are dedicated to transforming clients' construction and remodeling visions into reality. Through his dedication and expertise, he has established Q&R Construction Services as a trusted name in the construction industry, committed to delivering high-quality results to his clients. Quaid Houskeeper, how you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good.
Great to have you on, man. I'm excited. There's a lot of topics I'm ready to cover with you. But before we get started, let's talk about Quaid. So who is Quaid Houskeeper?
Man, you're asking a tough question already. Um, Man, I wouldn't I never even thought about describing myself or how to say who I am. So, um, man, I'm just an entrepreneur that loves to serve and help people. And so I found a need within, when I was working for a large commercial company, I found a need of helping people in a different way, where I saw the need from contractors who not necessarily screwing customers over, but just the customer themselves didn't know what they were really getting for their money. And so I wanted to jump in there and do something about that. And so that's what I've started Q&R Construction as. And that's what we do is help the customer so that it's a little bit more transparent. And so for me, I guess who I am is I love to serve. I love to help people whenever I can. Um, that's kind of what I'm all about.
Love it, man. And I definitely want to dive into, you and I talked before this, talking about, the customer service side of things and the problems within the industry of, not enough clarification, just promises not being fulfilled and so on too. But more about yourself. Were you always in construction prior to working for that commercial company? What kind of led you into the industry?
Yeah, as a young kid, I did off and on construction, and then as I technically should have gone on a mission for my church when I was 18 and didn't. Instead, I traveled the country, going from state to state, learning different trades, jumping from job to job to job, and I was just the guy that would raise my hand, and I wasn't worried about whether or not I knew it. I was going to do it. I was going to figure it out. So since I was a kid, I used to tear apart RC cars just to figure things out. So figuring things out was never an issue for me. It take me a minute, but I could usually get to anything. So I've been in construction since probably 16, but heavily since about 18, 19. And then I just traveled doing all sorts of jobs. I was an apprentice electrician for about a year and a half. Just wasn't my gig, so I moved on and didn't pursue that. I was a plumber for 4 years. Did an apprenticeship in Washington and then moved to Utah and finished most of it, and then moved to Oregon and didn't finish it. Decided it wasn't for me anymore. But it gave me a lot of knowledge. So I have a lot of experience in framing, plumbing, electrical, heating, just all the trades combined: siding, windows install, door, roof. And so it made it easy for me to tie it together. I finally started to see that I could see a vision of a project when I stepped on the job site rather than having to guess and ask everybody, how do you do this? I already kind of knew how to do it.
And I commend you for that, man, because I like to say you actually swung a hammer, right? You actually learned the trades. You
Oh, yeah.
actually, and that benefits you huge within your business because you know what's going on. Because there is a lot of contractors or guys that get into construction that have never done it. They
Right.
think it's a money grab, and they say I'm going to go get my builder's license and become a builder and slap a name on my truck and tell people I know what I'm doing. But with you having that experience is such a massive, it's such a huge asset for you. So I commend you on that too, because I grew up in the business. I had a dad that never handed me anything. He made me work for everything that I had, still to this day, even being part owner finally. I should say finally
Yeah.
because it just recently happened a couple of years ago after working for him for a long time. I was a laborer, but I learned he made me do that to respect the industry and learn all these things like go in houses, learn how framing's done, learn how to tile, learn how to do cabinetry. I had to learn it myself and actually swing a hammer, so I know what's going on now. So I commend you on that, man. It's a huge achievement. Obviously, doing electrical, doing plumbing, doing all those different things. Things.
Yeah, and as a young contractor, I used to make fun of. I don't do it anymore, and I've kind of changed my mindset of this kind of stuff. But I used to make fun of paper contractors. Those guys to me were
Hmm.
guys that just told everybody what to do. But if those guys that were doing the work weren't there, they couldn't do it themselves. And so I've always had a little bit of a pride where before I was going to ask you to do it, I was going to learn it. I was going to be the guy that was
Hmm.
the expert. And so I've tackled other businesses besides construction. Like I had an apparel company for a long time. Right now, we just started a new company called Q&R Cabinet Creations. We're a distributor of cabinetry and kitchen and bathroom cabinets, countertops. I learn it first before I'm going to go and tell somebody else. So I do all the footwork first because if I don't know how to do it, it's real hard for me to explain it to somebody else. Hard for me to teach it to somebody else.
That's business. I mean, that goes into business a huge advantage for you as an entrepreneur in your business because if you don't know it and then you just start it and then
Right.
it's how you're going to have success and have success fast in general with it. But if you learn it, you appreciate it. Learning it gives you more of appreciation for the actual business, in my opinion, too.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's why I always tell my stories because me being in a family business is always assumed that you just it's handed to you.
Right.
And my brother will tell you, and I'll tell you that nothing was ever handed to us. And, it took a lot for us to get to where we are today, but the respect that we have and why we're having success in that business is in the business currently is because we learned it, we respect it, and we want to improve it. We want to carry on a legacy of it too.
Right. Yeah.
So, and there's not second generation failure, I think is it's a big number actually, and third generation goes down even farther than that. But for you to learn these things and do it like that is awesome, man. And I'm the same way. Like if I go into something, I got to learn it. I sold cars at one point, and I learned every single thing about every car on that dealership before I sold them. I brought home back
Right.
then they had brochures back that they weren't everything wasn't just on a computer, and I brought home every brochure, laid them across the bed, and just started reading them, writing all the information per every car to learn the product too. And
That's awesome.
that's what gets you, that advantage of being able to appreciate what you're doing, but also sell what you're doing too, because you know it,
Right.
right?
Yep. You got to be able to talk with your customers with confidence and be able to explain not only what you're doing, but I think the options, because there is always a million options as to everything we do. Every kitchen, every bathroom, every addition, ADU, there's options. And then also knowing the codes and knowing what can be done and can't be done. Structural. If you don't know all these things, then you have to hire somebody who does, which isn't a bad thing, but I still should be able to talk intelligently with my person that knows.
Yeah. You should be able to have the answers too, because you kind of if you don't have the answers, you better have somebody that does on your team. But because
Right.
it doesn't look too good if you don't. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, One thing you said customers didn't know what they were getting into, and that's one of the reasons you started your business. Talk about that a little bit because I think it is such an important factor in the construction industry in general. Like there's a lot of people where you're at, where I'm at, especially when times were crazy the last few years in the building industry and remodel industry. But people were getting screwed. They're still getting screwed left and right. So talk about that importance a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that I have that I share with a lot of people that happened after I started my business. I hired a salesman, a guy that was going around selling to customers. He would bid the jobs for new additions, remodels, a full new build. He would do all the footwork, get all the pricing, and then he would turn it into me. I would review it and stuff, but again, I didn't do the footwork, so I don't know if the numbers he gave was totally accurate or not. And on this particular job, it was an addition that we were doing for this job, and just one line item on the job was material for this addition. It was all the lumber, all the plywood, everything that was needed to frame this up. He came in at, I think it was close to $65,000 for the material. Now I thought it was a little bit high, but at the time the customer agreed to it, and I'm like, okay, that's if he did the math and he did everything based on the blueprints we had, it should be pretty accurate. Well, when we got done, he came in one day just excited as all get out, saying, "Look what I did for us. Look how much money I made for us," and showed me
Mm,
the total bill for that material was like $15,000.
wow.
Yet he bid it for $65,000. And he says, "Look how much money we made." And he was putting his hand out. "I want my bonus. I want, this is." And I had to sit him down. He got very upset because I had to tell him, "This isn't how I do business. This isn't how we're going to do business. If it was only this $15,000, then, and we mark up things, or we have a margin of 20%, then we're going to mark it up 20%. And then we're going to go to him and say, 'Listen, look what we did for you. We brought this down,' because two things either happen. Either we were just misunderstood on, or our supplier gave us bad pricing, or we were bidding something totally different, used the wrong numbers, or we didn't do our due diligence and we guessed. And we just threw a number out there and hoped it was a plenty, and if it was way more, we were going to keep the money, and that's not what we do. We
No.
we tack on our profit because we should make a profit. We're in business, and our customers should understand that. We should be transparent in that. But if we can fight for them, because they're our customer, not my subs, not my supplier, not all these other people. If we can fight for them and get the price down, not beat our subs up so they don't make any money, we want them to be viable too. So if we can get them a better price and it comes in under, they save that money. Here's your money back. You made whatever amount of $30,000 is coming off of this build, because we got our percentage, and your material only costs this. And so this salesman was very upset. He quit. Wouldn't Said he wasn't going to work this way. Said that I was screwing him out of money. And to be honest with you, in the end, the customer still spent the $65,000 that we had
Yeah.
in there for a budget. They got more for their money. That's what we should be doing. That's customer service. That's, as a contractor, that's fighting for our customer and going, "Hey, if it comes under, then I'm going to save you that money." And we adopted at that point. I basically went to the cost plus, and my margin's 20%, let's say, and I mark my material up 20%, but I have a line item. They actually get to see whatever that cost is for their material. They get to see it. What do I care if they see what I paid for the material? That's my job, is to get better pricing and to work for them. And then I get my markup. Not an over markup, not 150%, not 300%. It's the margins that we need to make to be a viable and stay in business. So that's kind
You
of
and I,
where we come from. That's what we want to do. That's what I saw was contractors were padding the pockets of their subs. They're padding the pot. They're going through and overbidding things because they don't want to spend the actual time or do the actual due diligence, or they're worried. And I do add money to every estimate, but it's a budget more than an estimate. This is a budget. We got 50,000 for materials, and if it comes in at 45, even with my markup, then you only pay the 45, because I'm working for
mm,
you to save money, not working to line my pocket. Most contractors don't do that. I'm not saying all do that. Most would save money. They get their sub to charge less, but then they put that money in their pocket. They make more. Their percentage is
mm.
higher and higher and higher, and it doesn't need to be. And that's what drives cost. It's what drives customers not to be able to afford a remodel.
You and I are very, very, very similar, and a few things on that too. highly agree that fighting for your customer, because I see it all the time too. Like, and I hear about it from my subs. Like, I've heard of builders in my local market. They're cost plus, but they're less than me cost plus. If our markups cost plus 20 and they're at 15 or they're at 10, I've heard from subs what they're actually doing is they're calling the sub and telling the sub to increase their bid and then telling the sub we'll split the increase on your bid. So they're being transparent, they're saying, okay, we'll show you the bid. This is what it comes in at. But that sub's
Yeah.
bid is ten grand higher for them than it is for me. And then they're
Yeah.
splitting that 10 grand. It's just, there's so much dishonesty in this industry, man. And I tell people that too when they're shopping these cheaper builders. I'm like, these are some of the things they're doing. You gotta, the transparent, they may say they're transparent and they're cost plus and blah, 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 but they're not. I got
Yeah.
subs that won't even work for certain builders because they have integrity. All my subs do, and they don't want to do that. Their
Right.
cost is their cost. My cost is my cost. I'm happy to show it to you, but also I'm still willing to fight for you too. Get other bids.
Yeah.
So I keep my subs honest too. If they're getting a little higher, I did it with my spray foam guy the other last week, and he was a little higher. And then I went back to him and said, "Hey, I bid this guy. You're at this price. What's going on here? Oh, let me look at it. Oh,
Right.
sorry, I forgot to adjust the old pricing. I'm sure you did, but but it's doing those things to save the client money that they appreciate, but it gains trust with the client, right? And trust is the number
Yeah.
one thing as a contractor that unfortunately it's become hard to get because they've gotten screwed somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's you're exactly right. I'm not beating on my subs. I'm not making them come down on their price. I want them to charge what it's worth. What I'm doing is just keeping them honest. I'm just keeping them from
Yeah.
overcharging or coming back to me and saying, "Hey, I this was so much work." And I'm like, "No, it wasn't. I know what plumbing is. It doesn't take that much. You did your job. You're getting paid for it. You're not going to give me a change order for more because it took you longer because you're juggling too many jobs." There's things like that that I keep them honest on, but not. I don't beat them down. I don't make them the cheapest guy in the field. I want the quality first. I want the timing and the communication, and then price comes in there, and it's usually in the middle of the field because that's where it needs to be for
Hmm.
they're charging for their time and their experience and what they leave me. I want subs that I don't have to call back 10 times. They get it the first time. My drywall guy, I've been using him for years, and I can show him the job, tell him what I want, simple directions, and when the job's done, it's exactly what we needed every time. I don't, they have mistakes where they miss a plug or a crack forms, and he just comes out and fixes it. I don't have any
Yeah.
problems with it. There's no issue, and I never have to haggle price with him. He tells me a price. He always comes in and says, "This is the price." It's the same at the end, not here's a change order. And in 8 years, I can tell you, I've never given a change order. Never.
Mm.
Because I do pad my bids a little bit. I look at worst case scenario. I can see through the walls almost because I have so much experience in all these trades that I can see what's going to need to be done, what troubles are going to come, and I plan for them. And then when it doesn't pan out and we don't need it, that money goes back to the customer. If we didn't need all
Hmm.
that money and that budget didn't need to be padded, then they get that money back and typically they spend it. They're like, "Well, remember those that trimmer on the windows? Instead of doing a three-way drywall wrap, can I get full wood trim and stained?" And sure. Can I get hardwood
Yeah.
floors instead of the LVP? Sure, because they have the money. And it also, I don't have to give change orders because if they come in over scope and they want something added on, it's just an add-on. It's not a change order. It's they've asked for more work to be done, and 9 times out of 10, by the time I'm done with the job, it was a $300,000 job, and I may come in at $280,000. And so
Mm.
even if it hits the 300, there's no change order. Even the extra work they asked for, it still came in on the budget they agreed on in the first place.
I think that's where a lot of contractors struggle is they want to be the low man, right? And the bidding
Yep.
process. And so they go super low on their bids and then it's basically an overpromise on the lower price of the bid and then they don't achieve that lower price and then it turns into an argument or head butting between them and the
Yeah.
client. I'm the same as you. Like I always tell the clients that I bid higher. I'd rather have higher estimates
Yeah.
for things so that you can get the the high end appliances if you want them. If I'm building a bigger house and I give them $70,000 in appliances, you better believe that's going to cover some high end stuff.
Yeah.
And if they don't spend it, they don't spend the 70. That budget goes down, everything with the budget goes down with it. Same with
Right.
same with lighting, same with plumbing fixtures, all that kind of stuff, cabinetry. Quoting
Yeah.
that higher too, quoting countertop, nicer quartz, quartzite, stuff like that.
Right.
Just to give them those higher end finishes to start, and or even in their trim work and everything. I always do that as well because I'd rather have them be lower. And I always tell them this, I'd rather have, because I've been the opposite way. I'll admit it. I've been the opposite way where I did bid it low. And the
Yeah.
stress that I got from that of Bill, you said it was this, and this was during the time too. Part of it wasn't my fault, but this was during the COVID times too, when things were just skyrocketing. And it's taken us a couple of years to build some of these houses, and it's like, the products or the costs are going up, and then I'm having to call the client, explain why, this and that. Instead of
Right.
doing all that, just quote it higher, and yeah, I explained to him why I might be a higher quote than other builders. And
Yeah.
if most of the time you'll have their trust, they'll trust you that they're probably going to come in under budget, like you said. And or they're
Yeah.
going to get trust you enough to where they're going to be like, wow, Quaid saved me 40 grand on this item. That means I got 40 grand to spend. Where else can I put this in the house that's going to add value to
Exactly.
my house?
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and it always leads to further work. Always leads to
Hmm.
further work. I always get another job with them or a friend of theirs that wants to do the same thing. The referrals are nonstop when you do that because they know you're taking care of them and they want somebody to trust, and so you need that referral to pass along to all the people around them. And again, they'll be a repeat customer rather than one time they call you for something and you go do the job and you're done. So I
Hmm.
want repeat customers. I want more and more of their work. And so we're always fighting. I've even done things where if you've already signed contracts back in, when this whole shutdown in the government started, uh, I was told by all the suppliers that material prices were going up. They're going up. Here on this day, it was like, let's say a week down the road, the prices are almost going to double type deal on lumber and different products. So my customers, my existing customers, to protect their pricing, I forked out $100,000 and bought all of their material, all their things, and stored it at my house just so that I already had it and their price didn't go up while everybody else's went up.
Mm.
So those are things as a contractor. Again, if you're working for your customer, you are going to look at all of those kind of things. You're going to look at the cost of things. I don't put in Home Depot cabinets. Those cabinets are thin MDF on the sides that got plastic corners holding them together. They're never square. They're not going to last or hold up. It doesn't matter if the customer asks for it. I don't put it in. That's not me.
Yeah.
Because you may ask for it, I put it in, and then you're not happy. It doesn't have soft close anything. It's the old school hinges and no adjustments. So I'm not going to do it because then you show it to somebody and they're going to look going, "Oh, this is the quality you get from Q&R," whether or not you ask for it or not. So we have a standard that we live by, and we're gonna stick to it in every way, shape, or form. And I've heard this said many times that I might be too expensive for you. And you have to live by that. Just like you said, you can't be the low guy. You have to price
Hmm.
it based on what it's going to take to do it and give the quality you're going to give. Otherwise, you're change ordering. You're going to lose clients. You're going to have disputes at the end of the job, and that isn't good for your business.
Well, that goes into every builder or every contract, remodeler saying, "Oh, that's what their sales pitch. I'm a quality builder, or I'm a quality
Yeah,
remodeler," but are you truly quality? True quality is what you're saying. You're not going to stoop down to Home Depot level. I mean, how much? I don't know how many times I've been approached to do Home Depot stuff, or I can go to Home Depot and get plumbing fixtures for less. Why is, Ferguson has them for this, but they're here at Home Depot. It's a different product, man.
It
It's
is.
it's a whole different product. Things are built cheaper. They don't last as long, and you're not going to get a good warranty on them. And if you want to
Nope.
take it apart and take it to Home Depot to try and fight them for the warranty with your receipt, go right ahead, but good luck.
Right. Yep.
And it's like with their cabinet quality, like you said, and everything, people don't understand that true good quality, you got to pay, you get what you pay for. And then you really
Yeah.
do, especially in cabinetry, fixtures, lighting, all that kind of stuff. It's so,
Right.
so important. So, I love what you said there, because that's one thing people should watch out for. Is every builder, that's part of their sales pitch, is we're a quality builder, but what are they putting behind the walls? Are they spray foaming? They just doing bats? Are they, how are they doing their foundations? Are their pool decks where we're at? Are their pool decks poured concrete, or are they just sand setting everything? Like,
Right.
there's ways to cut costs big time that these guys are doing, but still claiming to be quality. But then the house falls apart after a year, especially after
Yep.
some rainstorms. So it's
Right.
just, that's 100%. I love what you said there. So on, so as far as some other things too, as far as customers looking what they need to look for, um, what do you think? What else are you seeing out there? That, or what else are you doing as far as to compete with some of these cheaper contractors that are out there? What are you telling people? What's the sales pitch? What are you doing?
Well, that's a tough one for me because I'll be honest with you, I don't compete with other contractors. Not even the ones that give the same pricing as me or a higher level. I don't compete with them. I do look at them, I do follow them because I'm looking for what they don't do. I'm looking for things I can add to mine that makes me stand out from them. Back in the day when I first started doing construction, I had a buddy of mine whose brother owned a pole building company. They built pole buildings all over the place. And back then you didn't put concrete in the bottom of the hole. You put rock and then you just filled rock around the post and then you built your building. Well, he went a step above everybody else and he would pour concrete in the bottom of the hole. He's like one of the first ones I ever saw. I'm not saying he's the first and he pioneered it. I'm just saying he wanted better than what everybody else was doing. So he poured a footing to put these poles on, and his buildings lasted longer. They worked better, but it's just that added touch that gave him above and beyond the other contractors that he would in his sales pitch he'd say, nobody else does it, but we pour footings under our poles.
Mm.
And everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to be stronger." Whether it was or not, that's to be proven, but that's the kind of stuff that we do. We follow others so that we can learn what they're doing bad, but also learn what they're doing good. There's a lot of guys out there that are doing way better than me. So I want to see what they're doing and doing well. But I do not compete against guys that are undercutting. If that customer is looking for the cheap contractor, I am not the contractor for them. If they're
Mhm.
looking for a reliable contractor, because that's in our name, Q&R Construction is quality, reliable construction. If they're looking for quality and they're looking for reliable, and when I say reliable, I mean a year or two down the road when technically maybe our warranty's up and we don't have to go back and fix or do anything to help them, I still do. I'll still send a
Mhm.
guy or I'll go over myself if it's a problem. If I have a problem on the job, that's the other thing is I don't send my employees. Let's say my employee messed something up because it happens. We're not perfect. They mess something up. I don't send them back to fix it. I'm the one that goes back to fix it. It's got to be, you got to make it look like it's important. So there's all these little trades that we do within our thing. Now, again, having the knowledge of what it is we're doing, why we're giving good quality or why we won't use certain products, or that's the sales pitch. I can't really speak for because I'm never going to talk about the guy that's cheaper. If I just know that if they're talking about the guy that's cheaper, that means they want the cheaper guy. I'm
Mhm.
not the contractor for them. And so I just move on. I move to the next job I'm always still there for them if they want to talk quality, but I'm not going to talk the low price. I'm not going to. And if somebody says, "Is there any way you can come down on your budget?" And I was like, "Well, no, I don't come down on my budget. My budget is where it's at based on your project and what you asked for. You want to come down
Hmm.
on what you're asking for, then my budget comes down. We can do that."
Yeah.
So I don't really compete. There's not a, it's hard for me to explain. In the sales pitch, it's always me that does the closing of it. I need to actually probably work harder at uh, raising up and teaching somebody on how to close jobs. But I've had jobs where I've had employees, salesmen, and they'll go into the job and they'll talk to the customer, and it takes them 2 to 3 months to get them to sign a contract. And even then, they're like hemming and hawing. But I can go in there within one day and sell it. I don't know what it is that I'm doing that creates that. I just go in, I come down to their level, we talk about things. I'm not there to tell them what they can and can't do. And we do have a little bit of a standard when it comes to the jobs when I get started on it. You're the homeowner, you're not the contractor. You hired me to do the job, you need to get out of my way and let us do the job. You're not going to come in and go, "Well, can you do it this way?" and change how we do things, because then I can't warranty it. If I'm going to do it
Hmm.
your way, if I'm going to change the process in which I'm doing, and we also don't technically, I do let customers do things, but you got to be wary of customers doing their own things. One, it'll take you longer. A job that should take us 6 months, if a customer's doing 3 or 4 items in that thing, and you don't give them a timeline and say it's got to be done by this date because I got subs and got other trades coming in, it's going to mess up your schedule. And you and I both know the longer the job takes, the less money you make on the job. It is, if it's supposed to be a
Hmm.
6 month job, it can't take 8 months and you think you still made the same 20% margin.
Yeah, very true. I love what you said about the warranty side of things and always going back. I just recently did that for a client. We finished the house, I want to say almost 3 years ago. So they've been out of warranty, but he was
Right.
having issues with his pool. I have a new pool contractor, much better. Back then, we were using a different pool contractor. That we used for a while, and he started kind of slipping up because he got too busy, and it's a long story, but on this specific pool, the autofill was off, and also there was no overflow pipe. He forgot the
Oh,
overflow, unless he just buried the overflow. I don't know, but we couldn't find it. So the guy's bushes kept getting soaked every time it would rain, and it'd kill his bushes. So long story short, it wasn't the customer's fault. That was something that we hired that subcontractor. The client said, I'll pay for it. I just want this pool right. And I said, no, you're not going to pay for it. We'll pay for it because this is on us. We hired that,
yeah.
that subcontractor. I'm going to make this right. And he was like, dang, wow. Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much. So I already had my new guy do it, things operating 10 times better like it should. But those things that, that cost me 2,500 bucks to put that stuff in, but in the long term of that client's appreciation and referrals and
Yeah.
so on too. I mean, what's that 2,500 really worth? Those are the questions most contractors don't ask themselves because they'd rather keep that in their pocket,
Well,
and they're
yeah.
never going to advance when you and I are doing stuff that most of them don't do because we have integrity, we have a
Hmm.
conscience, and we want to make it right because that's our brand, that's our name on the product. So I love what you said about going back on the closing thing. I wanted to touch on this and why you're a better closer than the salespeople. My answer to that, because I'm the same way. I close all our deals. I had a sales guy for a while, couldn't close a thing. Things would same story to you.
Yeah.
And I go in the room and it's like it's a whole different story. I think the reason is because we can't teach our passion. Is the way I look at it. We can't teach a salesperson to be as passionate as we are about the
Mm,
product that we put out, because we have a different feeling inside when we're selling that people they trust us,
yeah.
because we're so passionate about what we do and doing it the right way too, and taking care of people versus a salesperson. They're on a commission, they don't have that same passion, and they're not family, they're not, bred into the company. They're there to sell, you know. So I think
Right.
that's why the closing rate on our end and why you and I are still doing sales and probably continue to do the sales is just because we're so passionate about what we do and we know that we do it that much better than everybody else. That's
Yeah.
just my answer to that.
Yeah, that's probably very true. It's I've never really paid attention to what it is or how it is, but it does have it's got a lot to probably do about caring for the customer and what they're getting.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
care about what they get. In fact, they're going to ask me for all these things, and they may not have the budget to do everything that they want to do. But my goal is to somehow figure out how to get even the things that they want that they don't have the budget for done within this budget if we can.
Mm.
That's what we're always fighting for, and I think that I would hope that they could feel that from me when we talk, and maybe that's why we close more. Another reason to it, but you're probably right. That's probably why having the passion or the drive to and the love for it to help those customers. And again, it's service. I follow and Ed Milet quite a bit, and one of the things that he talks about all the time is we're not selling a construction job. We're not selling an addition. We're not selling what we're selling is happiness.
Hmm.
It's literally happiness that we're selling them. Whatever job we're doing for them, we're selling happiness. And I think after I heard that, I was like, man, it clicked. It is happiness. If they're happy, they're going to buy into it. If they're not happy, if they got reserves about it, if they got reserves about you, they're not going to buy into it. You're going to be struggling to get them to sign.
It's almost like I've talked with a good friend of mine and mentor, Brian, and we talk about the Ritz-Carlton experience. Like you go to a Ritz-Carlton, you're gonna leave a Ritz-Carlton happy, right? And
Yeah,
it's how can we implement into our companies that same experience, which I know Ritz-Carlton
yeah,
actually has a program you can go to show you how they do things. But um, how can we over deliver on our experience in an industry that struggles with it? You know, an industry that lacks trust. One of the top industries that lack trust is the construction industry because so many people get screwed in this industry and it's unfortunate. It's just it's reality that, things are overpromised and underdelivered in this industry all the time just so people can get the jobs and then they just don't do it. And I talk to realtors all the time that face it and deal with it. We're about to expand and get into the remodeling side of things. We haven't we always stayed within new construction, but there's been so many opportunities in remodeling that I've passed up over the
yeah.
years. I'm tired of giving them away at this point.
Right.
Let's put it that way. So, and I think there's a need in this area for a good high-end remodeler that says what he's going to do, and
Yeah.
there are ones out there, not saying there's not. There are really good ones out there, but there's not enough of them. And it's like your area too. So I love that is, caring for the customer is the overall objective. And it's like, how can we figure out ways to care for that customer, create that happiness, create that over the top experience more? And I'm always in search for that too. And I'm always the guy, sure it's the same with you where we're on the phone dealing with the client's problems on a consistent basis. And we have people in our office that do it, but when problems get to a different level, they usually go to us.
Yeah.
And, we're the peacekeeper. I say I'm the fireman. I put out the fires. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like, so how can I make that experience better by implementing software, by doing all these different things to make it more of a seamless process? Is it ever going to be seamless? I hope to get there one day, but until then, I'm in search for it. So, and that's I think a difference maker between us and a lot of other contractors.
Yeah, yeah, we're in the growth process. We're always growing. We're never where we want to be. And you're already doing it. Just this example that you just gave where you went back and you fixed this guy's pool. It was something that should have been done in the
Yeah.
first place. You just fixed it no matter how far back it was. That's exactly how you combat it. That's how you build the trust. That's how that customer is now going to tell his friends that are over looking at his pool, going, "Hey, this is great. Who'd you have do it? Did you like him?" And the guy's going to go, "Of course I liked him. This guy came back even 2 years later when we had a
Hmm.
problem and fixed the problem for us and didn't charge me a dime." That's the trust right there. So you've already started it. It just has to get the word out more, but that's how you combat it. That's how you go after it, is getting those referrals from customer to customer is going to be more important than trying to sit in front of them and convince them that we're good people. And I do a lot of, I have customers that I've done this for, that you've done this for, that you can talk to, and they'd be happy to give you a letter that you can give to somebody. Or
Mm,
I have
yeah.
customers that allow me, if I got somebody's going to spend 300, 400, $500,000 on us, they can go over and look at the job we did for them. They can talk to the customer. They can find out what they believe, or how they feel about it, and it's just a good referral. We do use Facebook as well as my, it's a resume for me. You want to see the
Mm.
work that we do, the quality that we do, the testimonies, go on Facebook and look at our projects. We're not posting that so that we could be the most popular guy out there. We're posting that so I can say to my new customers, go look at this. This is what we do.
Yeah, I love that. I love it literally that's why social media is such a crucial tool too. And I've said this a million times in the past. I utilize it all the time just to show what we do, and how
Yeah.
what we do differently. And I've been doing social stuff on social for a while. I have competition now, finally doing it. And one of the builders actually local in my area. I talked to him. I was like, oh, I saw you're doing video now, and he's like, yeah, because this one guy that he's been doing it for about 5 years now, and it seems to be working. So yeah, we figured we'd step up and start doing it. And he's like, yeah, and he also has a podcast too. I was like, well, that helps too, because you can go on this podcast and hear everything that I do. I don't
Yeah.
hide anything. But are people, Bill Reiman, are they going to be the same as me? No. Are they going to be the same as Quaid? No. We're
No.
we're going to be different. We're going to sell different. And if they don't like us too, they'll see our products online and then they'll go somewhere else. Or it's like you said, if they don't want to pay for it, and they're price driven people, they're not a good fit for us. They really aren't.
Yeah.
And I've had situations, I have one now that I've been dealing with where I'm like, all right, I kind of need to step away from this because this guy is a builder and he's become very not demanding towards me, but asking a lot of questions on how things are done. Getting my sub wants to get in meetings with my subs, and I don't even have a deposit. I don't even have anything.
Oh,
And I'm last email I had with them after I sent them a contract, still don't have a signed contract, sent them pricing, everything, is, hey, can we get with your excavator? And I just want to sit down with them so I can get the plans, the engineering plans really ironed out, this and that. I said, I'm not doing anything until I have a signed contract moving
right.
forward. So,
Yeah.
and I just yesterday, I got this long email of why he needs these things, but I'm not an idiot. I know why. He can own or build her the house. He's probably using me to figure it out for all, and or he might just want answers. But in my opinion, I'm leaning the first way there, that he's just getting all the information to basically be like, I could build this myself for cheaper. So
Yeah,
it's just,
for sure.
you get people like that, man. You get people that really want to work. There's a lot of people out there for the contractors that are listening to this too, and the clients, but there's a lot of good clients out there that are looking for good builders that they just want a good overall experience. They don't they and that's where we come in, showcasing what we're constantly doing and how we're doing it different than the competition. And we're not
Right.
for everybody. We aren't. We're not going to be the
Yeah.
right fit, but we're going to be the right fit for a lot of people and a lot of good people. And usually it's the right people too, the right people that
Yep.
you get along with and make the process a lot easier.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, we tell people all the time when they start butting into how we do things and they want information on how we're going to do it. I usually tell them I charge to do the work. I don't charge, that's a different price to teach you how to do the work. I don't, they're not one and the same. You're paying us to do the work, not explain to you how I get it done. That took, for one, took me years, 20 plus years to figure out. You expect me to teach it to you in an hour. It's not going to happen for you to
Yeah.
understand in an hour. So I usually don't. I'm the same. I would be, when the customer starts asking for that kind of information, I'd be out. I'd be like, that's, when I have a signed contract, you're more than welcome to talk with my subs. That's kind of being transparent with my customers is nice because if the electrician's there and the customer comes downstairs and he says, I want instead of 8 lights in here, I want 12. He
Yeah.
can make that decision. The customer can talk to the how much is it going to cost me more, and the electrician can tell him. He doesn't have to go, Quaid, here's how much it is. Will you mark it up and give it to him? Because they know it's 20% margin on top of that. And then the
Yeah.
electrician sends me a message saying the customer asked for this. I'm going to add it in, and I put it in my notes and in my estimate. That
Yeah.
makes it easy, so it's not this roundabout always back and forth between subs and the customers can actually talk to them. But that's after we have that signed contract, like you're saying.
Yeah. It goes into the transparency, factor of everything, and that's going to be my reply email again, saying the same thing. Once we have a signed contract, I'm happy to move forward and set up stuff
Yeah.
with my subs where we can meet, like I said in the past emails. But until then, I'll go over my pricing. He has all my pricing. He doesn't have my subs. But and it was a long email, and I've been kind of with this specific client. I've been hesitant at first, and even my decorator, he wouldn't sign my decorator's contract. My decorator's like, this dude's just gonna use you. So he goes, he goes, he used me for furniture
Mm.
pricing and all that. And he's like, I've seen this before. Don't, he's like, I would just back off. And
Be careful.
I didn't at that point. I helped him out a little bit with his engineering and stuff, but that wasn't much of my time. But other than that, it was, now I'm at the point where I'm like, sign it or I'm done, man.
Yeah,
So, but that
exactly.
happens. It happens. And as a builder too, like we just talked about, you're going to get the right customers you're going to learn these life lessons along the way too. I've had really bad customers, that
Mhm.
we should have never taken on, and they were a nightmare. They were, just very hard to deal with. They were nothing you did would make them happy.
Right.
And those were just the wrong customers, and you figure that out along the way. And now I know what to look for during the sales process too, who's going to be a
Exactly.
good fit with us and who's not.
Yep. Yeah. That's awesome.
So I want to wrap this up with you. This has been awesome, Quaid. I want to wrap it up with like a personal question I ask everybody. And I get a great answer on this question all the time. So, what about you personal? You're building an amazing company and brand that continues to grow each and every day. What lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own lives or and businesses that'll help us grow?
Um, I really this whole thing about not competing with other contractors. I think that we all should be on the progress of learning, not just in business and it needs to be a personal growth thing. And so for me, the biggest thing has come and the biggest progress has come. And of course, I'm in Arte, a little syndicate, a group that teaches every week. They have a lesson that they put out, and that has helped me greatly personally to become better and learn. I got issues. I got things all over the place. I sometimes I can have a temper, not be reasonable about things, not be the best leader. So I'm not looking at everybody else to tell them what they should fix. I'm not that guru online. I'm not the guy that's going to be able to fix you. I'm the guy that can fix me though. And I've mentioned this many times before when I started getting a little more careful with my social media is that if you want to uh, if you want to grow, you need to if everybody in America wants to get better, stop worrying about the people next to you. Stop worrying about what they call you, how they treat you, how they do their business. Stop worrying about it and worry about how you do yours. Because if you can progress in yours, if you can progress in your personal life, oh man, you're there. The limits are endless. And I've heard. I'm trying to remember his name. Simon Sinek talks about this all the time, and I've taken it kind of personal. There's a difference between finite thinking and infinite thinking. And I think for most of my life, I was a finite thinker. Everything there was like an end. Everything there was a place where I'd lose my temper and I couldn't get past it. I was done. It was, but now I can look at things where it's an infinite process instead of this being when we have things bad happen to us, this isn't bad. It's not happening to me. This is what am I supposed to learn from this so that I can move above it and grow and be further in life. And so I spend more time on myself than I do other people. Some people look and they see that as maybe I don't talk enough anymore to them or I don't communicate enough anymore. That's because I'm working on me. I can't fix you. You can fix you, but I can't fix you. So that's been if I had any advice, that would be the biggest thing is if we all start working on us, looking at our faults, not looking at everybody else's faults. And it's not easy to do. I'm not telling you I'm perfect at this at all because I'm not. That's why I'm doing it is because I struggle daily where I judge and look at other people and go, oh, you're an idiot. You should be doing this differently. But then I can look in my life and go, I'm an idiot too because I do it too. So that's would be my advice is that I would spend more time on yourself, spend more time on your progress, more time on your daily habits. There's so many things that get up and go to the gym every morning. I have found that going to the gym every morning at the same time for me starts my day early. I have more done in the day because I get up at 4:30 to head to the gym than most people do when they get up at 8 o'clock. My day
Mm.
is already it's already started. I've already thought about jobs. I've already done stuff. I've already lined employees out. And that's not always perfect either, but it is a huge jump to be awake and have things done at 8 o'clock rather than waking up and trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the day.
I never get a bad answer to that question, man. That's unbelievable right there. I never do. It's one thing that popped in my head because I heard this quote today is people are jealous of what you have, or people are jealous of what you have. They aren't jealous of what it took for you to have it. I actually heard that
Exactly.
today, and
That's a good one.
that goes into what you were saying there. You know, it's we're always chasing things as entrepreneurs too, and we're always trying to just we're seeing the outside world. We're seeing this guy's doing this. This person has this. This person, why can't I? Why can't I? You know, instead of just pausing and being like, this is what God gave me. This is what I have right now.
Yeah.
You know, this is I'm doing good and I'm in a very good place, you know, and it takes a lot for people to realize that and pause for a second and realize, okay, here's the things I need to do and take accountability to get better at, to increase and be a better person, be a
Right.
better man, be a better father, be a better husband, and so on. And those are the things I'm chasing. I'm the same as you. Like I have to work out every morning. You know, I've done 75 hard. I've done, this year, my word of the year is discipline too. I'm being more disciplined to where almost 75 hard's kind of that type of thing where I'm walking more, doing those workouts, reading more, doing that kind of
Yeah.
stuff is more of a daily thing instead of just a 75-day thing. You know, less
Yeah.
out, I'm not going to drink even haven't had a drink in over a month now and it's like unless if I'm at an event or something, maybe I'll have one. I don't know. I just haven't
Right.
wanted one. So it's like,
Yeah.
cutting the stuff that has really kind of drug me down or pulled me back is kind of the mission this year. And
That's
that's
awesome.
what's going to take me to that next level of business and life and being a better father to my son's 15 months. And I'm ever since having him too, these things are racing through my head. I'm sure you experienced it too as a father. And you're like, do I want my son to see me this way? No, I want him to see me this way, just as I saw my dad too. Or what are the things that I didn't want to, I didn't like in my
Yeah.
that I should be doing? And it's like all these things have started to race through my mind and just to be better and be better at business. And that goes into everything that we talked about today, man. Like it's such like just being a servant leader is why we're put on this earth. That's why God
Right.
put us here to serve, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of contractors, like we said, we covered a lot. They struggle with this, so hopefully some of them are listening to this and will change their ways and take some advice from us. And if not, God, God bless you. But
All right.
you know, but I appreciate you, man. This was awesome. I'm glad. Like I've said to past guests too. I think God puts you in rooms for a reason, and I was glad to sit here with you today and do this with you. So, with that being
For
said,
sure.
too, where can people find and connect with you?
Uh, that you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok is a great place to at least find our company and see what we do. But I have a website. It's Q&R or QR services, I think is the website. I don't even look at it that often, so I don't know where it's if that's the right number on it. Um,
I'll
or
link
they
it. So,
or yeah, they can call us directly. I got a business line where they can call us directly, and but we're here in Salem, Oregon is my main place, but we work all up and down the Oregon coast, and we got a pretty broad range. We're in the mountains or on the coast or up north or south, but we're also in Billings, Montana as well. I
nice.
started a branch over there, so we do some construction and stuff over there and sell cabinetry there as well.
Nice. Well, Quaid, this has been an honor to have you, man. I'll definitely have you on again in the future and check in with you too. And appreciate you
Perfect.
and your time today, man.
I appreciate you, Bill. Thanks for the opportunity to jump on here and talk a little bit about business.
Yeah, man. And for everybody listening, appreciate you all. Please take the time to share this one with your friends and family. Goes a long way, and this one definitely needs to be shared, especially some people looking to build or remodel houses. And obviously, 5-star reviews go a long way. You guys been doing a good job on that on iTunes. Appreciate you all, and I will see you guys on the next episode.